knowledge and from the wealth of their experience. We'll be talking about the eMigr8 Tech Visa app. It's in the stores. You should download the app. It's part of what is useful for your journey towards relocation and settlement. And even if you choose to stay in your home country and you're not looking to migrate just yet, or maybe not at all, we believe that you should be globally attractive. Don't just be a local champion in your local ecosystem. Ensure that you are globally attractive, and eMigr8 can actually help you do that. If you wait till the end of this session, it's a 1 hour, 30-minute session. If you wait till the end of the session, we do have a gift for you. And we will just mention that we've had several different editions of eMigr8 Open Days in the past. Many of these are recorded. Many of these are available in the eMigr8 community on YouTube. You can go to those sessions and you're able to get access to a lot of information, wealth of knowledge shared by different coaches for different visa routes. So UK Global Talent, French Tech Visa, Canada Startup Visa, US O1 Visa, name it. In terms of tech-enabled visa opportunities, we probably have video resources and information available to help you. But today's session, we will be looking globally. We'll be looking at multiple countries of the world, and we'll be looking at the landscape globally for talents. Right, and particularly we'll be focusing on the idea of a local champion versus global opportunity. And as I mentioned, a number of coaches are already on the call and they are there to be able to support you. If you have questions as regard any visa pathway, please drop it in the chat. It would help the discussion as well. We will not be able to call you live today to come on the platform to ask your question directly by you speaking, but you can type your question. So do type questions in the chat. Don't wait till after the session. Don't wait till a speaker has finished. Once a question pops in your head that you believe you need answers to, drop it in the chat and we will endeavor to take as many of these questions as possible during this session. Also, as I said before, do get on the App Store and get the eMigr8 app. It's on the App Store, it's on the Google Play Store, and it's also available on the web. And you can use the URL emigrate.com/techvisa to get access, direct access to download the app. We also have this running, which is one of the packages on the eMigr8 platform. It's the Settle in the UK as a Tech Talent package. It's a package that would help you even if you are not in the field of technology today. And so we have options for you as a beginner. And if you're already in the field of tech, then it is even better. If you're also in the startup field, you've run a startup before, you've worked as a senior executive in a startup, even better as well. With this particular package, you can move with your spouse and dependent, and it is also available for switching and for settlement. You will need time and equity for this particular package. So you need a bit of time to be able to prepare your profile towards qualifying for different visa opportunities that is embedded in this package. And you would also need at least 3 to 6 months in terms of a timeline estimate. We have other open days coming up in the future, which are going to be focusing on different visa pathways, from the Innovator Founder Visa to the UK Global Talent Visa to the US O1 Visa, and so on. Many of these editions are still coming up, so stay tuned to the eMigr8 platform. But who are we? What is eMigr8? As I said, eMigr8, what we are striving towards is to help you become globally attractive. And the reason for that, as I said, is that if you are globally attractive, you have options from all over the world. The reason why this works is because forward-thinking countries of the world have realized that they need talents to be in their jurisdiction for them to be able to win the global race. Talent is the new oil. And so every forward-thinking country of the world are designing different programs to help them bring talents to their jurisdiction. They are not doing you a favor. They want you to bring your idea, bring your innovation, bring your talents, bring your investment, bring everything that you've got. And they are happy for you to bring your dependents, your spouse, your children as well, because they know that you are going to create employment in their jurisdiction. They know you are going to pay high taxes in their jurisdiction. They know that you will need supporting individuals and supporting staff in their jurisdiction. And there are several other advantages of having you as a talent be in their jurisdiction. They are not doing you a favor. And that's what we focus on the eMigr8 platform, to say, yes, the visa is there. And yes, you may be in this room because of one visa type or the other. But we believe that the visa itself is a side objective to an overall objective. There's life after the visa, for example. And that objective is be globally attractive, and you do have options. In terms of practically, our services cover things like information, general inquiry, coaching and handholding. We're a coaching marketplace. We have a number of coaches on the eMigr8 platform who have gone through different routes, different visa pathways in the past, and some of them actively involved. And they are able to show you the way. They are able to handhold you. You are able to have somebody to help guide your process. We help with things like preliminary assessment to say, am I already qualified? We help with a self-directed roadmap to say, oh, I don't want, and I want to do it myself, but I just need a little bit of help in terms of what do I need to do exactly, right? And then, of course, if you do need a little more hand-holding, that is also available on the eMigr8 platform. And most of what we do on the platform, we actually do for free at no cost to you. Yes, you heard that right. We do most of what we do. Over 80% of what we do on the platform, we actually do for free. And the reason is because we run a freemium model. You probably, some of us on the call use Gmail, and you may never have paid for Gmail. But the truth is that Gmail is a profitable business, because the few people that do pay for Gmail more than covers for the cost of running the entire platform. It's a similar process that we have and a similar model that we run on the eMigr8 platform. On the free side, we've got the eMigr8 Tech Visa app. If you have not downloaded the app at this point, please, just as you're listening to me, get on the App Store, download the app, register on the app, because a lot of the things that we do, particularly on the free side of eMigr8, are done through the eMigr8 Tech Visa app. We have the information and inspiration, and this session you are on right now is one of our information and inspiration sessions. We have our monthly open day, monthly office hours. We've got open coaching sessions focused on different visa opportunities, and we also have visa-specific office hours. But it gets better, because we are also able to do some one-to-one session at no cost to you on the eMigr8 platform. However, before you do that one-to-one session, we always advise that take advantage of all the other options that are already available free. Don't go to a coach on a one-to-one session and ask, what is eMigr8 or what is Tech Nation Visa? All of those things are in public domain. All of those things we discuss on these sessions, on these kinds of open day session. Go to that session asking question that is unique to you. No two people are the same. Different people have different challenges, different nuances to different rules. And those are the kinds of things we expect you to go for in those kinds of short inquiry session. Some of them are available free. And I've mentioned as well, if you wait till the end of today's session, we do have a gift for you. On the premium side, we have eMigr8 Circle, we have personalized coaching sessions, and we do have different custom services that are available on the premium side. We have different packages. These are some of the premium packages available on the eMigr8 platform that you could subscribe to. We have a package around move to the UK as a global talent, which is focused on the UK global talent visa. We have move to the UK as an innovator founder, focused on the innovator founder visa, and several others. We have the self-start UK route, which is actually the UK self-sponsorship route. We've had sessions on it, which you can actually watch the open day video. But just to mention that the self-sponsorship route is not a different visa category. It is actually the UK skilled worker visa. However, you are able to attract the UK skilled worker visa by creating a company that will get sponsorship license and then sponsor you. But that's for the UK. We also have the Settle in the UK as a tech talent package, which looks at multiple visa routes. And it's one of the routes on the eMigr8 platform that comes with the eMigr8 triple guarantee. On the US, we've got the move to the US as global talent, focusing on the US O1 visa. And we've got other routes as well, like Canada. eMigr8 has communities on different platforms, WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook, and several communities. We ask that you join those communities, like, share, comment on those different communities. If you haven't done so already, as I said, We do have an incentive if you are if you go on the eMigr8 Tech Visa app. If you are able to achieve a 7-day streak on the Tech Visa app during this period, you will get a free short coaching session. A streak means that consistently you log into that app every day, consistently for 7 days, you would actually get a short coaching session at no cost to you. eMigr8 is part of an ecosystem and was incubated by a company called Bincom Dev Center. And at Bincom Dev Center, there are a few services that may be of interest to you as well. One of them is the Global Tech Program, which helps you build technology skills. We help you to learn skills, gain experience, and gain exposure in the field of technology. So if you're an absolute beginner to say, I don't know anything in the field of technology today, this is a good program for you to start from because it puts everything that you need to do into one bucket. And there are technical skills you could do, or technical tracks, or business-related tracks that you can do. So technical tracks like software programming, infrastructure and DevOps, business-related tracks like product management, which is our PMO track, or digital marketing, and several other tracks along that line that you can look at. If you're at the intermediate level skill, meaning you're not a beginner, but you realize that you don't have the right experience or exposure that you know that you need for your next level, this program is also good for you. The entire program is actually 1 to 2 years, but we have a subset of the program for 3 months that is designed to help you move from one stage to the next. And that's the flyer you're looking at the moment, and incorporates many of the things I've said before. And it is a pathway for you to landing tech visas at intermediate and advanced levels as well. Mentoring platform. If you are advanced in your skill level, we invite you to mentor on the Bincom mentoring platform. The mentoring platform is, we have a number of mentees who are looking for your mentorship, particularly if you're at an advanced skill level. And you will find out that some of the visa opportunities we talk about, one of the ways you can show yourself as globally attractive is actually by mentoring on a structured platform. This is one of such platforms. It's highly competitive. We are not able to accept every single mentor that applies. However, we are inviting you, if you're highly advanced in your skill level, to apply on the mentoring platform, because we do have mentees that are looking for your mentorship. If you're looking to build startup experience, one of the best ways to do that is to actually build a startup. And this is what Labs by Bincom helps you to do. It's a 3 to 6 months program. And what we do is that we bring together 3 to 10 individuals who are all looking to build a startup. We are able to work with you, show you the way, and also work with you to come up with an idea that will be innovative, viable, and scalable. But it gets better. Within the Labs ecosystem, within the Labs by Bincom program, you will need to build that startup. You need to build a working product that will be used by real live customers. And all of that will be done in the space of 3 to 6 months within Labs. You can register for that at bincom.net/labs. The last service I'll talk about is our tech career coaching service. This is only available in the UK for now, but we're working really hard to expand this to many other countries. With the tech career coaching service, what it is tech employment and recruiting service for individuals. It will help you land your next role faster. It will help you build the relevant experience in your target country, in the UK for now. We work with you on connection to technical recruiters, and also guide in terms of how to land roles that will come to work visa sponsorship. In the UK for now, we will be launching a similar program for Germany in the couple of months, and then we'll go on from there. For some of us on the call, this is the slide you want to take a screenshot of, because we'll be discussing a bit around this slide during today's session. More importantly is that you can also do a lot of research by yourself around the visa landscape, the tech visa landscape, of some startup visas available in different countries of the world, talent-based visas available from different countries of the world, and so on. And you are able to take a look at what are the requirements. Do I already qualify? Does it meet my interest? Does it meet my objective? Is this something I should be looking at? Is this something I can build a roadmap towards qualifying for over a period of time? Am I already qualified? What do I need to be able to apply? All of these things are what we discuss on the eMigr8 platform. All of these things are some of the things we can support you with on the eMigr8 eMigr8 platform. But the first starting point is even to be aware that these opportunities are there and that you could qualify for these opportunities. Also, the lowest common denominator across all these visa types is one thing: be globally attractive. If you're globally attractive, you have options from different parts of the world. But I'll just mention that on the eMigr8 platform, we are heavily biased, and we're expanding now, but we are heavily biased towards visa options and pathways that have a pathway to settlement. It may be a direct pathway to settlement or an indirect pathway to settlement, but we are very biased towards that. We're biased towards visa pathways that allows you to move with your family, and also pathways where as a beginner you can plan. So don't say as a beginner today to say, oh, they're talking about things that I don't yet qualify for, because even if you do not qualify today, you can qualify tomorrow. And the Tech Visa app, eMigr8 Tech Visa platform, can help you do that in a structured way, making sure you are able to hit your objective within the shortest possible time. And for many of the pathways we will talk about today, and many of the pathways we've talked about on the platform, we've done extensive open days, drilling down into different information around those pathways that are important to you. The Tech Visa landscape is one of those resources that we believe that you should take a look at. And as I said, even if you don't yet qualify, what you should be doing is that you should be going and working towards a roadmap of you qualifying over a short period of time. You may need to start from the newbie level to the beginner level to the intermediate level or to the expert level, or even if you're at the expert level and there are some gaps in your profile that doesn't make you qualify, all of those things are things you can work towards, and these are the things that we are able to help you with on the eMigr8 platform. If you need help with any of these that we've talked about, you can send our team messages. You can use any of those lines on WhatsApp. You can send an email. You can use the eMigr8 Tech Visa app. You can ask questions in the community. And there are several different ways where you can get help from the eMigr8 platform. And so it comes to our conversation today. And I'm going to invite the first coach to just give some sort of, well, not really an opening statement. We're going to go with Francisca first of all. And Francisca is going to be talking around the UK and going to be talking particularly around the wave of people that migrated from different countries into the UK, and because what's the next visa they're able to explore, they don't seem to be getting the right opportunities and all of that. And so Francisca is going to be talking about that briefly before we start the panel proper. And then we're going to have somebody speaking on the US as well. I'll introduce the speaker in a moment, speaking on the US pathways of some of the things that you can do in the US. For example, if you have a UK master's, you are very likely close to qualifying for the EB2 NIW visa in the US, for example. Close to qualifying, we wouldn't know whether or not you're qualified because there are other things that you have to check, 5 years experience, all of those kind of things. But the point is that this is also available. Once we're done with that, then we will start the proper panel where we've got panelists, 4 different coaches today. You're getting 4 for the price of 1. You're not even paying at all, right? 4 different coaches today talking from different experiences. As I mentioned, eMigr8 is not offering you immigration advice. We're also not offering you legal advice. What we're doing is we are sharing from our experiences information that we believe you should know, information that we believe is actionable for you, depending on where you are on the scale, depending on where you are in terms of your journey. Even if you're in your home country or you've already moved, looking at the pathway to settlement, or you're looking at what's the next level for me and so on, this is the right place for you to be. And so you're welcome again. And as I said earlier, if you wait till the end of this session, we do have a gift for you. And so with that being said, I would like to just invite on stage one of our coaches, Francisca, who is going to take it forward by just sharing some experiences that we believe would be important for this community to be aware of, particularly from a UK perspective. Over to you, Francisca. You're on mute, Francisca.
Thank you, Bade. Without wasting so much of our time, I just wanted us to discuss some of the pathways in the UK. So my understanding is majority or a good number of people on this call are either students studying in the UK or people still considering maybe living somewhere in Africa, Nigeria, and other parts of Africa, considering to emigrate to the UK, the US, and other countries that are attracting talent. So for the UK, in the last 4 years, I would say, just during COVID. It's just funny how COVID is already 4 years old since the pandemic. Our time flies. So since the pandemic, a lot of countries were struggling with getting human resources to navigate the challenges of the pandemic. And with that, there was a lot of relaxed immigration rules across different countries, the UK, Canada, even the United States, a lot of countries where either they were looking for people to come and support the healthcare system and other sectors, especially for countries globally facing challenges with the economy. So they needed talents to come and work so that the more people who come to work, you obviously, you pay taxes. You also have people coming in to support niche fields, technology, IT, healthcare, name it. So in 2020, they relaxed the rule to say that students after studying can get a post-study work visa, which they rebranded as a graduate visa. And with that, we had a lot of influx of people coming into the UK. What a lot of people didn't know then is that visa was just 2 years, and after that, you don't renew that visa. You have to think about a visa that leads to settlement, permanent residency, or green card, depending on where you live. When the UK is called ILR, indefinite leave to remain, which is usually the goal for a lot of immigrants when they come to the UK. But that's led to a lot of influx of people coming to the UK. And we had, I recently wrote an article about we not seeing a lot of people writing on YouTube, talking about YouTube, welcome to my YouTube channel, talking about new dispensation, moving abroad. Now people are now faced with the harsh reality of looking for an immigration status that would give them settlement or a right to live in the UK long term. So what does that mean for most of you, for some people who have finished studying? What are you thinking about? Your post-study is running out, or you're considering post-study if you're just starting your journey. What are the options? For many people in the past, when the government introduced what they call the health and care worker visa, the soft landing for them, there were a lot of students who just quickly switched to that visa. And some had that as their plan to say, okay, 5 years, I can just work as a care worker, get my indefinite leave. But now we have a new Labour government, and there also have been strict rules around that visa. Now you can have, what's it called, dependent. You can't bring your family on student visa as a postgraduate or undergraduate, except you're doing MS, that's research degree or PhD. And that's when you can bring the family to the UK. And also on care worker visa, except you're working for the NHS, you can't also bring dependents to the UK. So what are your options? Typically, most people always in the past go for the skilled worker route, where you look for an employer that would give you a sponsorship license. You work for them for 5 years, and after 5 years, you get your indefinite leave. But in recent years, the most popular among visas in the UK has become the global talent visa, which is not for everybody. So the first on the list of what you should be thinking about in terms of long-term immigration routes to the UK, especially for tech talent, which I believe we have a number of tech talent on this call, is the global talent visa. And the Global Talent Visa is not just for only tech, by the way. So you have it if you're someone in skills in digital technology or art and culture. Under art and culture, let's say you're a poet, you write, you are into music, you're a music artist, whether gospel music, jazz, whatever type of music, as long as you have evidence to show for it. You're a fashion designer, you are into sculpture making and other combined art, dance, and the likes. These people, this category of people, if they have the evidence to show, also like the tech route, you can get the Global Talent Visa. One of the beauty of the Global Talent Visa is that it gives you that, to a very large extent, freedom of and flexibility to work for any employer. The only restriction on that visa is that you can't work as a sports person, you can't work as a coach or a sports professional, but you can work in different fields. Well, what is important is by the time you're getting your settlement, applying for your settlement, or extending your visa, if you didn't apply for the full length, you should demonstrate that you have earned money in the field that you got endorsed in. And that's the Global Talent Visa. That is a very popular route, but also many are called, few are chosen. Many people apply for it, not so many people get the Global Talent Visa. And but we would always encourage people to think of how they, if they have skills in this area, consider applying, looking at the requirement and see how they meet this requirement. The second, a lot of times you find people who are in the dilemma of not leaving the country. Whatever you do, like I will say to people, if you run out of your visa, leave the country, there would always be opportunities for you to come back than for you to remain illegal in the country, especially in the UK, where the immigration rule is very clear. It's quite transparent. There are different options of visa that you can actually explore. The other visa is also the innovator visa, which is not my favorite option because if you're already, if it's an option if you're an entrepreneur and you have innovative ideas, you're really clear about what you want to do, then you go through an endorsement body as well that would endorse you to say they think that there's something here that is unique, that's an option, but probably on the bottom of the list because of the requirement for the innovator visa. And for some other people, they consider the skilled worker route. And for skilled work visa, for those who are students, especially if you're just coming in, some of the things that we always say that you consider is different graduate program early enough. If you, let's say you just came in and doing your master's, you start applying early for graduate programs that are typically 18 months to 2 years, mostly 18 months. Most of those companies who offer graduate programs end up sponsoring you because they've invested in you for 18 months. And after that program, they end up sponsoring people who have been trained or developed through their graduate pipeline. Then there's also one of the biggest employers in the UK is the NHS. The NHS also, they have a graduate program. If you start early and you apply for the graduate program, which is about 2 years, there's a likelihood that you can get sponsorship. Or if it's not the graduate program, the NHS have professionals, not only people in healthcare. There are different areas that people work in the NHS, and they are also one of the largest sponsors of what they call it, overseas talent. Aside the NHS as well, you have people, if you're someone who you have interest working in the academic field, universities are also major sponsors of people from overseas talent. The other options as well there are a number of companies that sponsor, but people need to be very mindful about getting sponsorship, especially when you're still studying and you don't want to do post-study. But the company that you're rushing into to get sponsorship, how stable are they? Are they big enough that they'll be able to sustain and pay your salary till the next 5 years? Is this company, do they have the risk of crumbling or packing up after a few years and then you don't know what to do? So we've had cases where stories of people who they didn't want to do the post-study graduate visa. They switched to uh, skilled worker visa, moved their dependents on it, and then along the line, the company had to make them redundant. In some cases, the company folded up. And now, once you've switched to skilled worker visa, you can't go back to graduate visa. So before you make that decision to switch from graduate visa, you need to be sure that this company is here long term. So that you don't put yourself in a situation where you're given 60 days to leave the country, whereas you would have had 2 years to plan and say, if the UK is not the place for me in terms of getting a job that looks secured or getting global talent, you can actually plan to move to other countries that offer visa programs, like in the US, where they have programs like the O1, the EB1, EB2. Some people take up to 2 years to try to meet that requirement. I'm sure Bumi will speak later about the US program, but there are people who, if you have international degree, like in the UK, they have been able to put the application together, and within that 2 years of post-study work visa, we're able to move to the US using the EB2 visa. That's an option. So I'm saying this so that people don't get so desperate that they rush and accept a tier 2 visa with, in quote, a random company, a company that if you go on, like I always say to people, if you go on company house sometimes and you check a company sponsoring you, sometimes they're not even filing on what they call, you can't see anything around their financial statement. You can't see anything that shows that this company is here long term, you know. So, but even in some cases, or not rare, but recently with the big tech layoff, we've had people who thought they had a visa for 5 years and all of a sudden they got made redundant. But in all of this, even if that happens, a lot of times people who are thinking of working globally do not just rely until they get PR or indefinite leave. They always try to get other options, like say you're on a tier 2 visa in the UK. You won't sit pretty thinking that until you get your ILR, thinking that things can go wrong. I've seen cases of people who worked, especially for multinationals, 4 years into the role, and they tell you, sorry, you're working in the UK, we want to transfer you to work for us in Nigeria or work for us in some other countries. And you spend 4 years, just 1 year for you to get your indefinite leave. It can happen on a tier 2 visa. But if that happens, there are cases where people get stuck within 2 years of being on tier 2, they get made redundant and they move to Canada. That they could do that because they know that with a tier 2 visa, it's still a temporary work permit, you know. So unlike a global talent visa where it's only if the endorsement body, as far as we know, rarely have we heard that an endorsement body withdrew their endorsement. It's very rare, but that's not the case for the what's it called skilled worker visa. So I don't want to take so much of our time, but I'm sure by the time we get into deep dive conversations with other panelists, we can discuss more, share more ideas, and also respond to questions. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Francisca. Thank you for giving a quick lay of the land, particularly for some of our audience who are currently in the UK looking for a pathway towards settlement. I'm going to call on Bumi next. Bumi is going to be talking from the US perspective, and maybe Bumi will speak a bit to the UK audience, but then we do have a global audience. We have people from UK, Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, looking at the registration for today's session. And so just Bumi, the topic is still the same around the global visa landscape for talent. And Bumi, do you want to just share a few words? And then before we go to the next person.
Thank you very much,
Over to you.
Bade, and thank you so much, Francisca. It was great to hear you, and thank you for sharing an overview of UK visa. Finally, good to see your face, even though. And so basically, welcome everyone to today's session. Though I'm a very Q&A person, but I'll try my best to go through. So US is a bit peculiar because quite a number of people feel like, oh, US, the immigration laws are not that straightforward. But of recent, we have begun to see that the US has begun to open doorways, especially for skilled professionals, so that it's not just before. In the beginning, you only used to see, oh, visa lottery, or asylum seekers, or people just come in and just jackbuying into the US and, getting lost about career, having to start afresh. But US has discovered that a lot of their talents, they have not held a lot of talents when they have not given a pathway, especially for skilled professionals. And so, I mean, when with the advent of the Democrats in power, we saw them open up approvals for the national interest waiver, which is the EB2, and also the EB1, which is for extraordinary professionals, and then the O1, which is also for extraordinary ability. And now for these three categories that I've highlighted, first of all, the O1 for extraordinary ability is for you, especially if you already have a business and your business is thriving. You basically, what we want to do with O1 is that you open a business in the United States, and then your business invites you as the extraordinary talent, and you get an approval to come and start that business in the United States. Now, if you're on the O1 category, O1 is a 3-year visa, but it's a dual intent visa. What does dual intent mean? It means that that visa can actually switch you from a non-immigrant status to a permanent resident. So once you have done 3 years and you prove with your financials, because your financials is very important, and what you do with the business, that you have brought income and you've brought revenue to the United States, you can switch to the EB1. So the O1 is dual intent in that it takes you straight to EB1, and then an EB1 is green card immediately. So that's O1 for you. And O1 requires you to have quite a number of documentation, and when it comes to your media showing that you have the strength, awards showing that you have the strength in that area, showing your expertise, showing that you have done this work in this regard, your certificates, obviously, and basically things that prove that you're an extraordinary talent, whether in media, whether in sports, whether in science, whether in music. It can be in anything. So quite a number of our top tier that relocated to the United States came on O1 visas. The very popular ones that you know came on O1 visas based on this, on their credibility and how much audience that they commanded in Nigeria. Now, if you're a skilled professional who has studied a master's in the UK, you probably want to look at the EB2. EB2 is the national interest waiver. So what does the EB2? The EB2 says that you are a skilled professional. That's the first prong, that you're a skilled professional, and that your endeavor, what you plan to do in the US is of national merit, substantial merit, and that you're well positioned, and that on balance, it's in the interest of the United States to actually waive the job offer requirement for you to actually get your EB2 national interest waiver approved. And what that means in essence is, in case you have done your master's in the UK and you have done tests on very, fantastic areas, whether you're a lawyer, whether you are in engineering, whatever field you are in, we've seen accountants get approved because they had things that were of national interest. All we need to do is to look at your portfolio and see how it ties to a need that the White House has said, oh, we want more professionals in this area. We want more professionals in that area. So we want to see your portfolio and be able to advise, oh, so if you've done a master's, for example, in chemical engineering, your work experience of 5 years will then commiserate with the masters because is tied into the masters. Now we've seen cases where people have done maybe BSc in Nigeria, and the BSc was maybe in estate management, but all they practiced was finance. But if peradventure you then did a master's in finance, what you have done is that you can now, on the leverage of the job experience you had prior in Nigeria and the masters that you have now done that is commensurate with the experience that you have, we combine those two together to show that you are actually beneficial. It's beneficial for the United States to allow you to come to the United States. So understanding how it works, the fact that your work experience and the fact that you're going to get references and also letters from your former place of employment to show either your offer letters or whatever we can lay hands on, or even your payslip, to just prove that you are an extraordinary talent, you were paid well when you were working, and this is your relevant experience, and this is how you benefit to the United States. It also rides on your publications. So a lot of people, when they hear publications, they are like, what am I supposed to... Something as simple as your master's thesis, your BSc thesis, all of that add up to publications that you've done. Those are simple ways. And then, I mean, there are ways to build your portfolio as well in terms of volunteering. If you've been in the UK for a while, you should have volunteered in societies that are relevant. You should have, you should have signed up with these societies that are relevant to you. So that's what basically the EB2 is about. We just sit down with you because it's a case-by-case level. So it's important that you share your resume, your detailed resume, and then you see us analyze these resumes and tell you, okay, you're actually positioned. Can we get evidence of everything you've listed in your resume? That's how it works for EB2. For EB1, EB1 is a special category because it's not just showing what you will do. EB1 says you have done it. So in EB1, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that these things is not just because for EB2, it can ride on the fact that this is what I propose to do in the United States. For EB1, it has to show the things that you have done that are extraordinary. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've done them in the US. It can be things that you've done in Nigeria. It can be things you're doing in the UK. It can be things you've done in Canada. But it has to be very, very strong. There has to be strength of maybe revenue if you're a business owner that is riding on that, or very high paying salary that can really, really fast track your EB1. The beauty of EB1, the difference between EB2 and EB1 is that EB2 processing times, as at now, we have a 1 year wait period. But for EB1 is current. So it means that if you're approved for EB1 right now, you would immediately get your green card within a very few months. But for EB2, you would have a wait period of a year because they have a backlog. So that's the difference between EB2 and EB1 at the moment. That's what we have as a... And also, if you haven't even started anything or you want to come in and school in the United States, there is the F1. The thing you need to look for in F1, regardless of what course you're looking at, make sure your course has a STEM OPT attached. Some people are studying accounting in United States, but they have STEM OPT attached to accounting because their schools have saying that, look here, this person needs work authorization. So if you're coming in on F1 visa, especially as a student, maybe you're younger, you just want to study, you need to make sure that whatever course you're studying has that STEM OPT thing integrated into it, because STEM OPT gives you 3 years at least of work authorization. And a lot of people right there while in school, some people come in studying for their PhD. It depends on whatever you want to study. People come in, they get PhD. And the beautiful thing about PhD in the United States is that PhD students get paid to go to school. So if you're a school person, you should target the United States for PhD, because you don't need to pay for PhD in United States. You would get paid to go to school, because you would then be a research assistant, assistant lecturer. That automatically goes to the PhD student. And so if you're coming in for PhD, I've had people that are in their first, second year switch from PhD into EB1, because already as a PhD student, you already have that, what's it called now? That you're an extraordinary talent in the United States. So somebody said, please let the speaker try to use less jargon. What jargon? I don't know. What? Maybe you don't understand the terms and terminologies that I'm using. Pardon me, but basically,
please proceed.
pardon me?
Yeah, please proceed, Bumi. We have a slide that will show them. So I think this person is new to
Okay.
some of
Thank you very much. That's
but please
fine.
proceed. Yeah, you're fine. We'll show a slide that will sort of
No,
help.
no problem at all. No problem at all.
Please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. EB1, EB2 are the names of the visas. If those are what is confusing you, that's how it's called. You can check online, EB1, EB2. OPT, STEM OPT, just stay for STEM OPT. You would always find those terms. I hope I've clarified your question. I think I've covered the basic ones that I have on my plate, which is O1, EB1, EB2, and F1. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Bumi. I do appreciate that. And yes, as I mentioned, and we said this at the initial stages, we're going to bring Moody on board as well in a moment to just give a few opening statements. But I'm just going to flash a slide up again that we had shared at the beginning of the conversation. For those of us that, I mean, you can please take a screenshot of this slide once it comes up. Take a screenshot of this slide once it comes up. It sort of gives a layout of a number of different visa pathways. Today's conversation, we will be touching on different visa pathways. We are not focusing on any one specific visa. We have done open days on eMigr8 platform where we focused on a specific visa, and then we drill down into a lot of things for that particular visa pathway. Today's conversation is a bit different. Today's conversation is now looking at the general landscape, looking at it generally of the entire landscape to see what are the commonalities, what are some of the things you should consider. If you are looking at different options at this point, what are some of the ones that should be on top of your research list? If you're building a roadmap for yourself, what are some of the things that you should consider around building that roadmap for yourself? So that's what we are looking at during today's edition of eMigr8. Also, we've said earlier to say that please, if you wait till the end, we do have a gift for you. And also, hopefully the slide will come up in a moment, but not to take too much of our time. I'm just going to call Moody up at this point. Moody is also one of our resident coaches on the eMigr8 platform. And Moody is also just going to give a bit of overview around the different landscape, different visa landscape, different countries, what are they looking for, why are these different visas available, and some things before we then get into the panel conversation proper. I am sharing my screen just for a moment, just before Moody starts. Hopefully it comes up. If it doesn't, and once the screen comes up, please take a screenshot. It won't be on for too long. And then you can use that to Google it. Every one of the visa pathway we are talking about, you can find a lot of information about them online. But what we are doing on the eMigr8 platform is to bring all of it home for you, help you direct your energy in terms of your research energy if needed, help with coaching and hand-holding as well. So over to you, Moody.
All right, your slide is still not showing, but maybe I can use your slide when it even comes up. Hi, everyone. Good to be here today. Thank you for taking time to join. Thank you to all the speakers, the two brilliant speakers that have spoken before me. I think they thoroughly broke down their session, and I believe we're all getting value from the conversation so far. So my job is easy. The idea around today's topic is to sort of decentralize the conversation around digital visas or tech visas that you can look into. So we're just bringing this information to you, right? So the slide is up now. We're just bringing this information to you. You should do your research around this visa route and check if you do qualify before engaging anyone or engaging on the path, right? So we have talent visas all across the world. We have startup visa. We have employment-based visa. We have digital nomad visa. I'm going to speak slightly about the digital nomad visa. We see EU countries, European countries now issuing different digital nomad visa to attract people to their economy, be it short-lived visas. So, for example, Portugal has the D8 visa, which is a digital nomad visa that attracts tech enthusiasts or tech entrepreneurs or tech experts to their economy to come and work, get a job, be based there, start up a business there. And those visas are renewable for at least every 12 months for most of them, for the D8 visa for Portugal. So you want to take a look at that. Recently, Germany just announced what they call the Opportunity Card, which is also a visa that allows digital nomads to get a job and move into Germany, set up, in Germany and work from Germany. So you want to also look at that. And there's also the German employment visa that is, that's already been running for a long time. You want to look at that. For the startup visas, our first speaker, Francisca, talked about the UK Innovator Founder Visa, right? That is focused in the UK. We have the International Entrepreneur Paro Visa for the US. We have the Canadian Startup Visa. So you want to take a look at these opportunities. So if you have a startup or you are planning to, build a startup, right? You want to take a look at these opportunities and take a look at and ask yourself, do I qualify? Can I meet these criteria, right? And if you can't, right, there are options. The French startup visa also, there are options that you can take a look at. So if you don't qualify for Canada, you can qualify for, the UK visa, so to speak. So take a look at those opportunities. And there's also I spoke about the digital nomad visa across Europe. Different countries have digital nomad visas that they are looking for people with talent. Keyword is people with talent, exceptional talent, or that can come in and contribute, to their economy. At the end of the day, what they are looking at is attract the best mind who can come in to create opportunities in our economy, either close a gap, by picking up employment that will benefit the people and also lead to you paying taxes, or do a startup, start up your own business and you can employ their citizens and in the long run contribute to their general economy. So if you think about it, they are not doing you a favor. They're just creating an opportunity, a win-win opportunity for you to come and live your dream, right? Why they also build their economy while you're living your dream. Right, so that is the general visa landscape. That's the general visa approach from nations that are attracting talent to the economy, and that is what we're talking about today. So if you have any question about this backup, if you have any question, put it on the chat, and I think the panel session will pick it and we would answer. But right, generally speaking, those are the visa. There's also I didn't talk about the Australian global talent visa, right? Specifically for Australian, if you're looking at moving that far, right, there is Australian, just a simple Google search, you'll find a lot of information around it. And there's also digital nomad visas for Hong Kong. We spoke about this, I think a few months ago now, right? And we have videos on our app that speaks extensively on the Hong Kong visas, different opportunity, even opportunity that allows teachers to move to Hong Kong, English teachers to move to Hong Kong. So you want to take advantage of this information. And yeah, and let's hear your questions. Let's see how far we can help with the time that is left.
Fantastic. And thank you so much. I'm not sure Chidi is on the call. I'm not sure, but yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for all the panelists, our coaches on the call at this point. And so I think we're just going to open up to questions. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat. We will not be able to invite you up stage. And then we will just continue the conversation. We'll take as many questions as we can during the conversation as well. And so my opening question is to all three of you, and it's pretty much around let's start with maybe entrepreneurs in the room, right? I know in our immediate last eMigr8 Open Day, we spoke about the different entrepreneurial routes. We've also spoken about some of them during this conversation. eMigr8 also supports the UK self-sponsorship route in partnership with Self-Start, for example. But here's the question: how easy is it to build a company and be an entrepreneur outside your home country? Are there challenges? Are there things that you've seen that you feel like, oh, you should be aware of? This is assuming this entrepreneur does have capital. We'll come to an entrepreneur that doesn't have as much in terms of capital. But how easy is it in terms of building from developing economies and then develop economies? Francisca, I'll start with you, and then we'll just go around to Bumi and then to Moody.
Well, I think it's dependent on your ability to research and do a lot of information digging before you jump into the world of entrepreneurship. It's a lot different from how we do things in Africa, especially like thinking about doing business in the UK. Unlike, let me say, Nigeria, where I'm from, a lot of companies sometimes do not do their returns to CAC, and they don't get sanctioned for that as it stands. There are a lot of things that people get away with, but here it's a different thing. So when you think about the paperwork, you have to more or less outsource most of the things because you don't want to get fined or get things wrong. So you need to pay for legal advice, accountant, and for a lot of people, for some people, they find that process overwhelming, most especially if you're used to running business in your own climb where you don't need to worry so much. You just need to think about revenue, money coming in, and think about profit making. Here, you're not thinking about profit making alone. You have to also have a back of your mind the regulatory requirement for almost every sector you want to work in, whether you're working in tech, whether you're working in healthcare, you have to think about the regulatory and compliance implication. So compliance is a big issue for people who work here. It could also means tax compliance, So for some people, when they leave the country, you rarely find people who do entrepreneurship full-time because it's going to take a while for them to even become sustainable. A number of people still keep a full-time job whilst trying to navigate entrepreneurship. So that's what I know based on the community and network of people that I relate with in the UK, their experiences so far.
Thank you so much, Francisca. And Bumi, for the US, entrepreneur has capital, so they are not looking for investment. I have an investment question later. How easy is it building a business in the US?
Okay, in the United States, there is a bit of flexibility for entrepreneurs to build their businesses, in that there are quite a number of incubators, and even within your county, you would find information about, especially for people of color, you would always find one grant or the other, or you find one incubator to join that they would give you like resources where they can handhold you and say, oh, okay, this is what you need to do to be positioned. I have a friend that is winning a $10 million grant for sustainability. So I can say that, and they started as a student. So it really depends on information, really. But if you don't need funding, for example, and you come in here, you're saying, oh, I don't need funding, I just want to build a business, then you need to be sure that, then you need to get your marketing right. Because at the end of the day, you probably want to bootstrap for a while and then say, oh, okay, I want to then push into the US market. Again, you would still need that network because US is still it's still very brick and mortar, and it's still very brick and mortar businesses still thrive more. So maybe you want to open, it still thrives more. Tech works, yes. But then tech works, a lot of the tech that you're seeing up there, they have a lot of backing in terms of Silicon Valley. And so if you're a tech person, you want to sleep in Washington, that's what I call it, go sleep, breathe eat in Washington. You don't want to go anywhere else but Washington because you need to be speaking to those guys there. Somebody would love you and invest in you. And basically, that's your hub if you are a tech entrepreneur. If you're not necessarily a tech entrepreneur and you're brick and mortar, basically, it just depends on where you want to look at. Texas is very good for those that are farmers, those that are, in the food business, in the basically. So it depends because the strengths of different regions are very different. So it really depends on what business the person wants to do. And like Francisca said, in bootstrapping, you need to also consider what would be your flow of income because if you're Nigerian, it's not easy to defend the dollar with naira. So you need to look at maybe working even in the space where your business is to learn some nitty-gritty of the business. And to gain, I met an Indian guy, and we spoke at length, and he was like, he worked in a particular place for 2 years, and that's where his first two clients came from. And that was the way he got a breakthrough in his business. Because I've interviewed quite a number of business owners, and they're like, the only way I got a breakthrough was working, and then the clients saw how good I was, and they were the first two clients that helped him stabilize his business. And that was in a period of maybe 2, 3 years, knowing that he was going somewhere. So yeah, it's a journey and it's not an easy one.
Well, thank you for that. Moody, your take, entrepreneurs?
All right. I think entrepreneurs are lucky people when you go abroad because it's easy in most of the countries across Europe and I think for North America, registering a business is very straightforward and easy. Like I know in the UK with £50, you can register a business name. What you do after that is now up to you, is where you start tilling the soil, right? So you can register your business, but if you want to sell in a new community, you have to learn how to network in that community. And I think both speakers alluded to that already. You have to build your networking skills. You have to be ready to go out there, interact with the locals. Something, again, you have to pay attention to is, a lot of us from Africa, we are very driven by passion. Sometimes your passion might not have a business space that is thriving in Europe. So you have to look for gaps, right? And most of these countries, they publish areas where they have gap in the economy, right, in the society, to say that this is where we have shortage, right? So you have to look at those industries, look at those gaps and invest in that direction. Because when it comes to investment, the government usually, dedicate more grants to people who are filling the gaps and there's less competition. And it's easy to find product market fit when there's a gap. But if you come with your passion and you're like, my passion is football, everybody's talking about football. There's a lot of competition there. My passion is fashion. Everybody has a fashion line. So there's a lot of competition there. But when you look at area where there are gaps, it's easy to do advertisements and it goes further than when you are competing. It's easy to ask for government grants, if you have, but key is you have to network. You have to go out of your community because you're not going to be selling to just people that look like you, right? You're not going to be selling to people that don't look like you, right? So you have to learn how to network, learn how to speak to Indians, speak to Americans, speak to European, and they all speak different language, even though we're all speaking English, so you have to learn that. And that's what I would say to any entrepreneur who wants to invest across borders.
Oh, fantastic. Let's go quickly to the student visa question. And the question, I'm going to go to you, Bumi, first of all. For a highly experienced talent, globally attractive, is student visa still, and the person's primary objective is for migrating, relocating his family, his or her family, that is. Would you suggest the student visa for the US, and then we'll come to Francisca for the UK, as an optimal route for this person to fulfill that objective? So the person is looking at a master's, for them to take a master's and then use that to do a relocation and all of that. And this is a highly attractive talent in terms of experience.
Does the talent already have a master's or,
Well, in this case, no masters. I'm just using a scenario anyway. In this case, no masters. Would you?
Okay. The limitations of a student visa route, the person must be well aware. Its information is that you can only work 20 hours. Unlike the UK, where your spouse can work, your spouse cannot work in the US. So you've got to have a deep pocket to be able to say you want to come with your entire family to the US. Your spouse cannot work in the US on a student visa. Unlike UK, your spouse can work full time. So that's the difference. So you need to, if you're making that decision, that needs to be at the top of your mind. If you're coming in as a student visa, which is why a lot of people, don't like the student visa route in the US, because your spouse can primarily not get a work authorization to work when they come.
Thank you for that. And Francisca, for the UK, student visa, if the primary objective is relocation and settlement.
So for student visas, we know that January 2024, you can't bring your family. So if you're talking about someone with family, student visa will work if you're just doing a typical MSc. But if you're doing like an eMigr8, Masters of Research, or doing a PhD, I would still recommend the UK because for the UK, for instance, your spouse can work. And if your plan, so you have some time, so pretty much 3 years for you to plan whether you want to remain in the UK or want to migrate somewhere else. If you see what I mean. So if you're doing masters in research, I would always encourage people come to the UK. They have 3 years to come to study, and then the other 2 years plan to see if you are migrating to Canada or all these other options that we've talked about, because it takes on the average 2 to 3 years or more for people to be able to move to Canada. But unfortunately, I think recently the Canadian government is already talking about cancellation of some of their visa program, and even ending their post-study work visa. So even people currently in Canada on student visa, I won't even advise you to come and study in Canada. So, but even if it's not Canada, for you to work in the UK as a student, your spouse may be fortunate to get a work visa that will give them sponsorship. And then you know that within the next 3 years, you can move to their visa after you finish studying.
I forgot to add something. If the person is doing direct PhD, even though you've not done a master's in the US, you can apply to do a PhD directly without a master's. And so, because you can apply directly to have a master's, PhD probably pays you better because you would get full funding, and you would also get paid, for doing your PhD, which will cover your living expenses, and you will not need to think of tuition. So it's always advisable to go straight for a PhD if you want to target the US rather than a master's that is more expensive.
I'll come to Moody, and Moody, I'm hoping you will speak about some other routes that expert can also explore, because sometimes it seems like people are focused on students rather than looking at some of the other routes that we've spoken about recently as well. Moody, that's question as well around the student visa. You're mute, Moody.
Yeah, sorry. So I think the student visa route is gradually closing down. All right. Countries are taking updating their laws and rules around student routes. There's now a bit of restrictions. You can't come in with your family in the UK, for example, in specific student route. But if you're looking at PhD and research masters, there's a caveat there for you. Even that caveat, you're not sure how long it's going to be open. Right. So if you want to take it now, right? And now that it's still open. But there are other fantastic alternatives, right? Because the investment it takes to move your family, then pay school fees, and all, it's a huge capital investment that you can look at other visa routes and employment-based routes that you can use, even skilled worker visa route that you can use. There is a lot cheaper by the time you consider the fact that you're not paying school fees, right? And you are coming in and you're going to be earning once you come in. So I would advise that we've talked a lot about other visa routes today. So there's the technician visa route if you're in technology, right? You want to look at technician. There's exceptional promise if you don't have a lot of experience. There's exceptional talent if you have a lot of experience in tech. There is also the startup visas across different markets, innovator founder visa for the UK, There's also digital nomad visas across Europe that you can look at. The financial commitment to this visa is a lot cheaper than if you're looking at student route. That is how I see it. So I will always say to people, before you pay that school fees, and it doesn't guarantee you a pathway to settlement, by the way. So you still have to move from student visa to skilled worker visa to get in on the path to settlement. So you're just going to invest, £20,000 upward for 2 years or 3 years. Then you're back thinking about what to do next, or look who will employ you. Why not think about how to get that employment now? Why not think about how to start up that business? There's even the self-sponsored routes now for most of these visa routes where you can sponsor yourself by opening a company in this country. So these are other alternatives that I hope people are paying attention to. I hope we're not following the bandwagon effect where my neighbor went to student route, so that's the route we are going to. You need to look at your own uniqueness, look at your family. I have a family friend who just paid about close to £10,000 for post-study visa for himself, post-study visa extension, the 2-year visa for himself, his wife, and his children. That's a huge commitment after paying school fees. Do you understand? After paying the UK school fees, 1 year is over, you're paying for post-study and you're paying that visa extension to cover himself and his 3 kids and his wife. It's a very expensive journey. So think about alternative that will get you on the path to settlement once you land. And that's my advice to everybody.
I know nobody's speaking for Canada, but I hear that there's a route that just opened in Canada that a lot of people are not aware of, a French route, and it's just for you to pass the French exam. And then you don't even go through, my friend that said they didn't even go through the pool. You just automatically apply and they are actually approving. So if you can take the pains to write the French exam with a proper French organization, trust me, they are taking people, just target the French-speaking countries, French-speaking provinces like Quebec, and you get your permanent residence. Canada doesn't have stress.
I think it does. I think that a route has always been there, but most people is the language barrier. It has always been there. There are people who are constantly in different WhatsApp, Telegram groups talking about trying to learn French, but it's just, for some of them, is that challenge of studying in your old age, going to learn a new language. That's what it for them. Yeah. Then I forgot to.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Francisco. Go ahead, Francisco. Go ahead.
I was trying to talk about earlier for the UK. The other thing that people don't realize that while you're here, I know that this is eMigr8, but immigration sometimes doesn't mean the UK alone. It could also mean, for some people, Middle East and even Africa. And what that could mean that you could get a job in EMEA or long-term companies where you either work remotely or you're able to. I know people who work in global organizations and they're working in Rwanda, they're working in Kenya, so that people don't, if your goal is not to live just in these specific countries, you also think of other places where your skills can earn you good money. Because I think at the end of the day, people want to use their talent to earn good pay, live well, and also be able to make meaningful impacts in the world. So you don't want a situation where you're just moving somewhere out of desperation, and let's say you are doing very well in your career and just end up with, no disrespect to people who are coming to do care visa, but sometimes it can be very heartbreaking. You see someone who has risen very well in their career, but out of desperation of wanting to live abroad, and they now go, you're like 20 levels up and you just go to level 0, not even level 1, in where you are in life. And for how long are you going to do that? If you do that for 5 years, after 5 years, what next? You probably have lost touch with even the job market, and there are a lot of people who have been dealing with that struggle. So while we're having this conversation, it's important that people ask themselves what they really want in terms of living in another country. So once you're able to answer that question, some of these options we are throwing at you may not even be for you. Because the other truth about, like, especially for the UK now, about relocating from Africa to the UK and other countries is capital intensive. For instance, even with the global talent visa, think about paying almost £6,000 for visa and IHS fee per person. So if you're a family of 5, or let's say family of 4, you're talking about £24,000. Say you're Nigerian now, with today's exchange rate, that's £48,000. We're not talking about the money you need to live, pay rent, pay flights. So it's not 2 years ago, it wasn't this expensive. But the reality now these days, when I talk to people, sometimes people don't even come back to me, because I just try to be very blunt with how much the reality of even traveling out of the country. Even with Canada, tuition fees have gone up. The exchange rate is also not smiling in that end. And now you also have other fees staring at you, and with all the cost of living crisis. So while we're thinking about these options, it's also important for us to consider, looks like there's no African country that is an option, but there are opportunities for us to work in different parts of the world. There is Hong Kong. By the way, I noticed this, the Hong Kong, there's a Hong Kong migrant program, which is like equivalent of global talent that allows you to work in places like Hong Kong. There are also people go to work in Singapore. There are also good economics in Asia that people have also relocated to, and they're thriving and doing very well. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Francisca. And there are 3 key points I want our audience and those watching the replay video to please remember based on some of the things that have been mentioned. Number 1 is that you should look for routes that are optimal for you. And some of these routes that we've mentioned, you can actually prepare for them in your own country. Some of these routes, even if you're an absolute beginner today, you can actually be qualified before you then move. So for example, we're talking about the UK student visa. It may not be the optimal route for you, because that same fee you use, why don't you, first of all, be qualified for the right visa in your own country, and then you can then move at the right level, rather than you moving and going to start from 0 or going to start from level 1, move at the right level. Second thing I wanted to mention is that for many of the visa pathway that has been mentioned, we've done open days with a lot of details about this visa pathway. This is not the session where we're trying to do that today, but we've done those sessions with details, with the Hong Kong visa, with the UK Global Talent, with the US O1, with the US EB2 NIW. Go look for those details for documents and so on. But Moody, there was a question that I wanted to just touch on briefly. Somebody was asking that what documents do I need for the UK Global Talent and then the UK Innovator Founder Visa? What document do I need? Could you touch on that just briefly?
I would direct you to where the documents are, right? So go to technation.io. I think one of the things we have to invest when we're looking at relocation or immigration is our time and do a bit of research, right? So some of these questions are right at your fingertip. Technation.io has a guideline to apply for Technation.
I already shared it in the chat, so
yeah. Okay. So it does have that guideline that you can go with. Things that they are looking out for is, references from people you've worked with in the past in technology sector. Things like your CV, your intent statement, your statement letter, or your letter of intent. They are, requirement things that you have done in the field of digital technology. What innovative things have you done? Right? What have you been recognized? Have you been awarded any award? Have you been a mentor? You want to gather those information and gather the evidence that backs those information. So if you put up a write-up to say I've been a mentor or I've been working on this innovative product, anybody can put that write-up up. What is specific to them is that you want to put evidence to say this is the innovative product I built or that I worked on, or this is the product I worked on that gave me this recognition. Right. So that is what they're looking at, and they're looking at impact. So I know somebody would come and ask that how much do I need to have in terms of salary? Technician is more focused on impact. What's your impact story? More than, of course, they look at high salary if that's one of the evidence that you are putting forward. But your general application needs to speak to your impact and your growth in your choosing area of technology. So that's how I put it. But please, Francisca has dropped the link to some of the guideline on the chat. So you want to go there and read through and make sure you understand. Where you don't understand, come to eMigr8 and our coaches will help you through so to move some of the bottlenecks for you so that you can have clarity on what you're applying against.
Next question is a conversation I see, Francisca, you're already responding to in the chat, but I think it's best to also surface it for the benefit of those watching the replay video as well. And this is around people on the Tier 2 visa for the UK. Abumi, I'm going to come to you on the H1B1 visa as well, where people seem to be very comfortable to say, oh, I'm already on a 5-year sponsorship on the Tier 2 visa in the UK, and then issues happen, redundancy, layoff, budget cuts, and things like that. And then they start from square one. People get 60 days to leave the country where they feel like they've already established and they were already there for a while. Francisca, do you want to just speak a bit around that and why people should also be thinking about alternative just in case?
Yeah, I think people sometimes get complacent with the Tier 2 visa, the skilled worker visa. It's not indefinite leave. Do you understand? It's not, as we say in Pidgin, it's not a visa you have and you be carrying shoulder. No, anything can happen. Between 2021 and even up to now, so let me say 2022 to 2024, we've experienced massive layoff in tech. Before now, a lot of people worked in big tech, Google, Meta, name it, Microsoft. They just knew that if they got a Tier 2 visa to come and work in the UK, that this is their route to getting citizenship after 6 years. But for a lot of people last year, abruptly, I remember when we came in on Global Talent in 2021, you have a lot of people, acquaintances you know on Global Talent, on Tier 2 visa, working in big tech, and you tell them, see, you need to apply for this thing now. You lose nothing. It's even the time, interestingly, the time you are spent on Tier 2 counts towards ILR. So let's say you're on year 2 of your skilled worker visa and you get Global Talent today, it means, and you get exceptional talent, it means you just, after 1 year, you get ILR. And that was something that we thought would appeal to a lot of people. Unfortunately, a lot of them didn't listen. And by the time they started rushing, they got 60 days to leave the UK, and we're trying to apply to Tech Nation. Tech Nation rejected a lot of those applications. First of all, most of them didn't even have the network. They just worked in big organizations. Let's say you work in Google, most of your network is Google. But they need you to have diverse references. They need you to, and during those periods, most of them did not even volunteer or contribute to the UK ecosystem, tech ecosystem. So a number of people were actually asked to leave the UK. They had to leave the UK and return to their own countries because they were confident that they were in their companies long term. We've had people who they got jobs in civil service in the UK, and maybe the program or project that recruited you, all of a sudden for instance, there's a new Labour government. And if there was a project in the past government and the new government says, you know what, we're not, I think as of today, I think there's this payment for energy bills they give to pensioners or so that they are scrapping. Yeah. So let's say you were recruited to manage that kind of a project, and all of a sudden there's no need for that. You think you're working for government, that you are in a secured employment. I think I saw someone talking about working in the civil service or local government. It's still the same thing. It's only times, even rarely, that maybe the NHS don't really, the people feel more secured working in the NHS. But even at that, depending on the nature of your role, redundancies can happen anywhere, anytime. We've seen people working in big multinational companies and they were made redundant and they got the 60 days notice. So what do we do? A lot of people think about ways such that if it doesn't work, I remember years ago, a friend of mine, her husband was working in one of the multinationals, but he applied to get PR in Canada. This was like long ago, but he remained in that company, got his indefinite leave, and they didn't have to. When I asked them, oh, people didn't go to Canada again, they said, we already got in British passport. Why are we going to Canada? But if anything had happened, they likely would have moved. And I know someone who at some point was working in one of the oil services firm when I used to live in Aberdeen. 2 years into the role, major oil company, they were terminated. He already had Canada PR, and off he went to Canada. So these are some of the things that even with a tier 2 visa, anytime you're filling a form, remember, they will always ask you, there's a difference between are you permanent or you're on a temporary visa. The issue is until you get your indefinite leave, you are still temporary in the UK. So, and then you just need to keep your options open until then.
Yeah, thank you so much, Francisca. Bumi, do you want to answer the H1 question briefly? I know that our time is fast spent, and we haven't even caught the surface of the number of questions I had prepared for this session today. Bumi, are you still there? Are you able to answer? Okay. I know Bumi would have to drop off around this time anyway. Okay, but I think the point is made, and the point is just to say that if you're on a work-based visa, any visa, to be honest, right, you should typically have a plan B. Don't just do a fire sale and not be able to go to where you're coming from and all of that. But more importantly, if you are really tied to an employer, just know that you are tied to that employer, and anything can happen to the employer one way or the other. Of course, any visa has their limitation. Any visa has their challenges and things that you should be aware of. Even at ILR level, right? You can't just leave the UK for 2 years and not show up in the UK for 2 years because your leave will be curtailed. And so the point we're trying to make is just ensure that you are globally attractive, because if you are globally attractive, you would have options. You can choose to stay in your home economy and contribute in your home economy. You can choose to stay in your home economy and contribute globally by working remotely in different parts of the world. You can also choose to move to different countries of the world. And even if you're in a different country of the world, you could actually choose what they call reverse migration, but really it's just migration all the same, which is you're moving from a developed economy back to a developing economy to actually help build that economy. And so there are many options for you, but only if you are globally attractive. And that's what we do on the eMigr8 platform. The platform is there to support you. We have free services, and we do have premium services as well. The free services are there to help you. As we've mentioned earlier, the eMigr8 app is also in the store now. Download the app. The app will help guide you and help your journey towards your whatever route that you are looking at, whatever route you are looking at in terms of visas, in terms of you becoming globally attractive. The app is there to help. And so please download the app if you haven't done so already and use it every day. Moody. Oh, okay. Francisca, yeah, I was just
I
going to
wanted
go.
to quickly touch on, I think there's someone who has posted this like twice, something around doing UK, PhD in UK or US, which would you advise?
Okay. Francisca, please go ahead with that question. And I was going to go to Moody for a different question, but go ahead with that question.
Please include the take home and permanent resident papers. So no one is going to tell you what you need to do in terms of this opportunity. The first question is, your question is not even complete. Are you talking about that you have full funding? as much as Bumi said that there's scholarship to study free in the US, PhD, not everyone, some people still don't get full scholarship. Maybe they always get some kind of part scholarship. Now, the question is, both for the UK and the US, like in the UK, your spouse can come and work. The US, when you're a student, your spouse can work. The UK, if you finish your PhD, there's a likelihood that you are not just a PhD student because you want to leave Nigeria, but you are actively involved in research, doing peer review, going to conferences. If you finish your program, there's also the global talent for researchers. You're likely to get global talent, which is all the research route for global talent gives you ILR after 3 years. So that's an option, right? While in the US, you also have the national interest waiver, like you're likely to get something similar for you to get a pathway that could lead to green card. The question here at the end of the day is, what is in your pocket? Do you have like she said earlier, if you're coming to the US as a student, you know that you should have a lot of resources. If you're someone who has a family, if you're coming as a single person, the story may be different. So at the end of the day, I find it difficult saying one is better than the other. It's all dependent on your situation and also the community around you where you want to go. If you're going to migrate to UK, US, or Canada, wherever you go, ensure that you are not alone. You go to places where you have support, family, community, and that way you won't find yourself on Instagram UK talking about how it is a bad idea to relocate, why it's not a good idea to leave Nigeria and you're still back in Nigeria. People need to really think strategically before they make this decision. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I think it's important for everybody to know that they have a choice to make. So it's not, we're not saying this is the right or this is wrong. You know, they're all right. But you have to make a choice. You know, do you qualify for the choice of America? Do you qualify for the choice of the UK? If you qualify, then things like support system, like that Francisca just spoke about, might be important. If you have a young family, you need support system around you. Where would you get it? You know, those are some of the things that you have to check. Beyond the fact that it's a PhD program, you know, there are other things you have to check around the kind of lifestyle you want to live. There are people that cannot live in the US, right, because of, you know, most of their social policies around some controls I won't mention here. There are people that think the UK is, you know, heavily taxed and they want to go to a place where so you have to look at all those indices and do know that the final choice depends on where you want to go and where you see yourself living. All right.
Yeah. So I'm just going to, so we can bring this conversation towards a close and all. One of the things we wanted to pass across during this session is become a local champion, but don't just stay as a local champion. And so Moody, I'm going to come to you around what does it even mean to be a local champion in your local ecosystem? And then Francisca, I'm going to come to you around how can I look at global opportunity and not just stay as a local champion in my local ecosystem. But Moody, what does it actually mean to be a local champion in my local ecosystem? We could use the UK Global Talent Visa, for example. What are they talking about when they say become globally attractive? We're looking at the UK Innovator Founder Visa. What are they saying when they say your company needs to show innovation and be viable? We're looking at the likes of the O1 visa. What does it mean when they're saying an individual with extraordinary ability? Could you just speak to the audience in terms of what does that mean and what are we saying from a perspective of be a local champion within your own local ecosystem as a first step towards being globally attractive? Moody.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for that question. I would like to say being a local champion is an asset. It's a big asset that you can trade globally. So what it means is that you are, for a developer, for example, you're a full stack developer, right? You are a go-to person. You are resourceful in your ecosystem, not just in your organization. So there are people, we used to call it Yabaville back in the day, right? Yeah, so there are people in Yaba back in the day that if you are looking at starting a product, you want to go and consult them because they became mentors to different people, right? And they are giving back through their mentorship program. There are organizations that are run by individuals that created platform for people to come and learn tech for free. So they are champions in that field. So a champion in Python, for example, having a side kind of project where he's training people in Python development, right? That person becomes like a thought leader in Python, So there are people in product management also that, built products, small product, exited, built another product within the same market, right? It might be different industry, but within the same sort of Nigerian space or Ghana space, they built a health tech product, they moved to a fintech product, and they have wealth of experience building a product and exiting from the product. Now, those kind of people can be seen as local champion. But remember what I said first, being a champion, whether it's local or global, is an asset and you can trade it. So when it comes to applying for any of the visa route, be it technician, those investments that you have made that made you champion in your ecosystem is what they are going to be looking at and reviewing and telling themselves, oh, this person is a strong contender. He can replicate this success in this ecosystem in where he belongs to now, in our own ecosystem, if we allow him trade places. And so that is what it means to become, again, a local champion. But one of the ways to build that is constantly investing in yourself. Investing in yourself and being out there, volunteer, raise your hand when there is a challenge to be solved. Raise your hand, let your voice be heard. Contribute by being a mentor in different platforms. There's ADP list, there is the eMigr8 mentorship platform. Take advantage of those opportunities. There's also platforms that build networking. So there's what they call developers communities. We used to have something called Joomla community back in the day where everybody that is in the Joomla space come together, so those kind of community, be vocal, be active, you are the best person that can market yourself, There's something somebody can say, oh, that guy is a good developer, right? But don't wait for somebody to point you out. Let the people know what you are good at. Let people also know what you are trying to work at. You get people that will support you on your journey. And gradually, you'll find that you are investing yourself and in that economy. And gradually, it starts trading off. Even if you don't decide to travel out, I have friends in the UK and in America who are, sort of outsourcing projects to people in Nigeria because they know that these people are experts in the field and they are getting FX, while they are in Nigeria working for it, be it smaller project, but there is a global project, and that can again give you an opportunity to trade your skill sets in an international space. So yes, invest in yourself, network. Don't be limited to the project. Don't say I'm a fintech product manager or I'm a fintech designer. Look for ways to express your gift, your talent in other spaces, whether it's health tech, whether it's music tech. Just be active in your ecosystem and people will recommend you. All right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And Mudia talked about a lot of things to say. How do you become a local champion, which we believe is a pathway to becoming globally attractive. But then Francisca, so the globally attractive part, don't stay a local champion, look at global opportunity. That's the part I wanted you to speak to. And then maybe Bumi would also be able to speak to that as well. What does that global landscape look like for a globally attractive talent, looking at the world, looking at conquering the world, looking at making a dent in the global economy, not just their local ecosystem? Francisco.
So I think that for most of these visas that we've talked about, then it's not for everybody. And that's the first thing we need to clarify. I always say that, especially coming from some of our African background, when we see someone who is always keen to put themselves forward or naturally outspoken or wanting to volunteer, we call them being forward, right? Those people you call being forward, most people we call ITK, I too know. And those people we see as just annoying because you find them, we say they're all over the place. But think about it now. 5, 10 years down later, some of those people that you have felt irritated about, they actually, without knowing, have made themselves globally attractive. The society where we're in, especially in a country like the UK, you need to really put yourself out. Even when you work, where you work, if you're working in an organization, they really want to see you offer to help. Apart from your day job, they want to see you volunteer in office, depending on how big the organization you work in. What maybe employee resource groups or association. They really love to see that. That's the nature of the society. They like people giving back. So if you're not someone who naturally would give back or put yourself forward or want to go out of your way to make things happen, you would struggle to be able to provide evidence. If, like when Bumi was talking, she talked about some of the examples with EB1, EB2 visa, even the O1 visa. A lot of them require you to be out there. I sometimes talk to people, you don't have a LinkedIn in this day and age. You don't have a public footprint. If you type somebody's name, except you're doing some, I don't know, but it's just these days, it's so strange not to find anything, except you're doing something that you're not proud of. People want to constantly put themselves out, let people know what they are doing. Those are the people that easily, I see a lot of people in the chat, a number of people are saying, I have a master's, I have a this, can I have? Yes, you have a master's, but a lot of times it's not just about your degree. They want to see your real experiences, the connections you've made, the where you've been respected, recognized, the associations that you belong to. So those are the things that are appealing. Do you understand? For instance, some people naturally, I remember talking to someone who wanted to apply for Global Talent, and 30 minutes after talking to the person, I knew that if he applies for Tech Nation today, he would get it. This person likes to be on TV. Even now that the person is in the UK, there's no conference. I'm talking about someone, this person is in his 40s. Whether he lives somewhere in the Northwest, but you'll find him in London attending a conference. If there's any other global talent again, he will get it. Why? Because he's naturally passionate, selfless and passionate about community. Those are the people who you consider local champion, but they are globally attractive, because it simply means that if you've done this in your own country, if you've inspired people, if you've built network, if you've succeeded in business, if you've paid it forward, if you come to the UK or the US, you're more likely to thrive and also contribute to the growth of their tech ecosystem or whatever field that you belong to. So those are the things that I think we don't do too well. But I think with eMigr8, one of the things that you can learn from some of this session and also within the WhatsApp group and the community, you can learn that there's so much than you just being someone, a 9-to-5 person. There's so much more you can give, and there's so much more you can do to give yourself a good public image. I hope that helps.
I believe it does, Francisca. I just hope the audience are listening, and I hope they're also picking some of the action points that they ought to do immediately based on some of these insights that have been shared by the different coaches on the platform today, and even insights have been shared about specific visas in other sessions that we've had on this eMigr8 Open Day. Our time is fast spent. We won't be able to continue with so many of the things that we're planning to converse on today, but somebody asked a question, and I'm going to come to the speakers for their final words in a moment. We would like you to speak to 5 categories of our audience, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But someone asked a question to say, I have an HND in electrical engineering. Which type of visa would you advise me to apply for in the US? We don't know is the answer, because there are so many different nuances to your question that there's no way we can just answer that question to say, oh, just go and apply for visa A or go and apply for visa B. There's a lot more information that you can share. For example, one of the things we do is that we are able to assess your profile using, if you send your CV to eMigr8, using the to eMigr8, for example, they're able to assess your CV to say, are you qualified already for the EB2 NIW? As Bumi explained, that visa is available if you have potential, right? Or maybe you're already qualified for EB1, which means that you've actually achieved a bunch of things in your field. Or maybe there are other visas you can consider as well. And this is part of the reason why at eMigr8, we do our one-to-one coaching sessions where you are able to speak with an eMigr8 coach, and that coach is able to give you personalized guidance towards your own unique circumstance, towards your own profile. At eMigr8, and we're now running towards the end of today's session, but I wanted to just recap to say at eMigr8, you would notice that today's session, we didn't really focus on any one visa. We were talking generally about different visa pathways for relocation and settlement. We talked about the fact that this common denominator is really about you becoming globally attractive. Each visa has their nuances. Each visa has their requirement, and one requirement is different from the other visa requirement, but ultimately, if you are globally attractive, you have options. You also heard us talk about the fact that even if you are not qualified today, you can build your profile over a period of time so that you would be qualified for that visa opportunity. And so don't say, oh, they are talking to people that are already qualified. I'm not qualified already. There's nothing I can do right now. And then you wait 2 years, you wait 3 years, wait 4 years. Guess what? If you do nothing with the information you've gotten so far today, your profile may remain the same, and that doesn't help you in the long run. Because for some of these opportunities, a little effort, 3 months, 6 months, you may actually become qualified. But then I wanted to also introduce some of our eMigr8 packages. These are premium packages, but these are packages that you may want to consider in your journey towards becoming globally attractive. There are packages around the UK, there are packages around the US, there are packages around the UK self-sponsorship route where we do premium coaching sessions around them. We've got a package around the settle in the UK as a tech talent, which would actually handhold you through the entire process, and that comes with the eMigr8 triple guarantee. There are packages around the move to Canada as a startup founder. However, this is only available to people who already have a startup in their local ecosystem. So this is not available if you are at a beginner level, but there are other packages available here, available to you at the beginner level. You can take a screenshot of this if you want to, but just to mention again, on the eMigr8 platform, most of what we do, we actually do for free. 80%, more than 80% of what we do for free. We do have a premium packages, and some of them are what I've just shown you just a moment ago. But you could also start with some of the things available for you. During this session today, for example, our coaches have shared a lot of information. You may want to rewatch this video. You may want to note down some of the actions that you need to take on this particular session. Also, if you notice today, we deliberately did not focus just on tech talent. On the eMigr8 platform, as of right now, we are focused on tech talent. However, we've now started having some packages that is not only for tech talent, like the self-sponsorship route, for example, is not only for tech talent, right? But on the platform, we are very biased towards technology skill. Tech talents are who we focus on the most on the platform, but this same principle applies across multiple industry verticals. And we hope that you would find the eMigr8 Tech Visa app useful for your journey. It's able to help you with booking coaching sessions. It's able to help you with eMigr8 routes. It's able to help you with what should you be doing from step 1 to you being qualified for some of those visa opportunity, eMigr8 tasks, and several other features that are coming up and the team are currently building on the eMigr8 Tech Visa app. Download that app. And there are several other things available, including some free one-to-one coaching session. One of the ways, and we did promise you a gift during today's session, if you waited till this time, towards the end of the session, this is the gift. The gift is that you get an extra one-to-one short coaching session free of charge. And the way you get that is that you can go to any one of the eMigr8 communities and just mention in the community, you have to mention in the open community to say you are a part of today's edition of eMigr8 Open Day and that you have won a free one-to-one coaching session. It's a short session. The administrators on the community managers will take note of you, and you will then be able to, when you book the short session, you will be allowed to have that session with an eMigr8 coach. As I mentioned already, please, when you do that session, do your research, spend the time. Don't go to that session asking basic questions like, what is Visa X? Google it. Don't go to that session asking, what are the requirements for Visa X? Google it. Ask questions that are more personalized to you, to say, oh, I have this and this and this, I'm looking at this and this and this, and then those kinds of questions are what will make the best use of your time and the best use of the coach's time as well. And of course, if you need a little more help, you can look at some of the eMigr8 coaching and premium sessions as well. Also, we talked about the fact that also you get yet an extra free eMigr8 session. If you get a 7-day streak on the eMigr8 app, it's a limited offer at the moment, but if you're able to use the app 7 days in a row, you also get an extra coaching session. So if you're counting, that is 3 different short coaching sessions that you could qualify for at no cost to you on the eMigr8 platform. We talked about some of the packages that are available from our partner institutions, and we talked about this slide, focusing on different visa pathways from different countries. And we're saying that many of these opportunities you could qualify for in the future. And for some of you on the call, some of these opportunities you are already qualified for today. One of the messages that we've given in the past is that please do not wait till when these opportunities have expired or when you have just 2 months or 2 weeks left on your visa, and then you are now looking for what are the options available to me. Start early. Some of these opportunities, you may need a 3-month period, a 6-month period, maybe even a 1-year period for you to plan towards it. Start now. Don't start in that future and then figure out that, oh, you didn't do what you could have done a year ago when you had the opportunity to do so. These are some of the things we are talking about on the eMigr8 platform to say, if you are globally attractive, you have options. We have a number of premium sessions coming up in the next few months. We have a premium session and it will be shared within the eMigr8 community, drilling down on the UK Global Talent Visa. It's a premium session, meaning they're paid sessions. UK Global Talent Visa. We have a session focusing on the UK self-sponsorship route. We have a session coming up, which is also a premium session, which is drilling down into the details of the US EB2 NIW route. So all of these sessions are coming up in the coming weeks, and then you can ask questions on the community as well at no cost to you. Many of our coaches, some of those on this call today, are on those communities, able and willing to answer your questions, and they look forward to being able to help you. eMigr8 exists because our coaches genuinely want to help. We are limited by time, but we genuinely want to help. eMigr8 doesn't offer immigration or legal advice directly. We work with lawyers. With the self-sponsorship route, we're working with lawyers. With the NIW route, we're working with lawyers and so on. But we are not offering legal advice. That's not our unique selling point. Our unique selling point is that there's so much more that you need to know towards you being able to become globally attractive. And that's where we thrive the most. And so, Francisca, I'm going to come to you first, which is just final words. And I would like you to speak to 5 of our distinct audience, right? And then I'll come to Moody second. The first are beginners in the field of technology, or beginners generally. They haven't really done anything at all. They are beginners. What should they be doing based on them attending this? Well, it was supposed to be 1 hour, 30 minutes. Now it's 2-hour session. Second are intermediate people. They've done some things in tech and they are still building their profile. What should they be doing? Third people are advanced people. They are highly qualified, head of IT in a microfinance bank, CFO, CTO of a fintech startup, people like that. What should they be doing based on all this that they've heard? Fourth category are people in the UK, since you are speaking UK mostly, who are not yet on a pathway to settlement. So let's say UK students who are looking for a pathway to settlement, what should they be doing? And finally, people who are looking to apply, they are ready to apply for this one or the other of these opportunities. What should they be doing? And so, Francisca, I wanted you to just share. I know that those are many different audience, but just these are different categories of people on the eMigr8 community. And we wanted you to just speak to them to make sure that they got something and they are taking something back from this session today. And then Moody will come to you as second. And if Bumi is available, and then last, third.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
if you are just starting your career in tech, so it's somehow difficult because for global talent, for instance, in tech, you have both business and technical applicants. So if you're a technical applicant, for instance, you're just graduating from school. While in school, if you've not been volunteering or participating in all these dev communities, you want to start doing that, looking for opportunities to contribute significantly to open source projects, looking at how you engage in Stack Overflow communities, and evidence gathering the sort of experiences that can be verified in the public domain. I think recently it's more difficult, it's become very difficult with global talent because of the number of people applying, and some applications are now deemed weak. There's a lot of rejection that the assessors keep talking about self-authored application, meaning that you are just telling them by yourself what you have done, but they can't prove it. But if you have evidence like maybe an open source project where you're working collaboratively, you have third-party people who can attest to what you have done. And importantly, attend conferences, engage with people, and also, let's say on LinkedIn, and if you have access to people in the media, you can decide to become a column contributor, technology column contributor in a newspaper. This cuts across whether you're a senior person working in microfinance or tech. So if you're a senior person working in microfinance or an executive or mid-level career, what are you doing about thought leadership? You can be all that and nobody knows who you are, except maybe in your comfort zone where you work, and there are people reporting to you, you are praising people. But globally, how do we appraise you in terms of your impact in the community? You can be someone who contributes to technology column. You can be someone who actively contributes to maybe some kind of associations, all this kind of let's say, for instance, the FinTech Association, not just being part of the association, but willing to offer thought leadership. Even though LinkedIn and Medium posts are not acceptable as evidence, if you are someone that actively contributes to places like LinkedIn, it will raise your public profile because you have a lot of people following you, and then you can now start getting opportunities for people. I know one of my mentees who he actively contributes on LinkedIn, and there was an organization that contacted him to speak at an event. He doesn't know them from anywhere. They paid for his flight, and these are some of the examples he used over a 2 years period to apply for global talent. Not like he wasn't qualified, but he actively started. Some people, when you talk to them, they probably have 70% of what they need because you need to meet 3 criteria. And 70% may not be enough to get you endorsed. I know someone who it took him 5 months to work on his evidence, and he was able to get exceptional talent after 5 months. So what are the things you should be doing now? If you're someone currently in the UK, if you're just arriving, you're one of the new people who are brave enough with the harsh economy to still come and study in the UK, or maybe you're fortunate to get one of those juicy scholarships. You don't wait for the next 3 years without working on engaging the community. There are mentorship forums. There are, if you're a lady, there are women in data, women in this, and there are all sorts of platforms that, even from engaging people in LinkedIn, setting up one-to-one calls with people in your network to talk about what you're doing, and attending conferences or some of these hubs that you find across the regions. You'll be able to build such network and connection for within the next 3 years. There are people that would have known you for over a year to even be able to recommend you, because at the moment, for Tech Nation to endorse you, if you're talking about what you have done, you need to have worked in a place for at least 12 months. So those are the things that you need to pay attention to. There's no point. I think one of the things that have also made it difficult for global talent application, both in tech, art and culture especially, is you have people who know very well they are not qualified, but they just keep turning in applications. And the more you do things like that, if you join that wagon of people, you continue to make them raise the bar for application, and you also make things difficult for people who ordinarily would have qualified based on what the benchmark used to be. But now, because of the quality, we understand that the quality of applications from Nigeria, especially African countries, are very poor. People just turn in poor application, maybe because of we can do it by faith, believing God that the, how do we say, protocol will be jumped and you get endorsed. It's not helping us. And so we need to take our time and, importantly, join the right community. And like Moody said earlier, one of the things when it comes to this thing, you need to do your own research as well. It's sometimes very tiring when people come to you, they want to apply for global talent. Have you read the guide? There's a guide that tells you what you need. Some of these questions, it's just that people don't even want to read. So if you're not going to read, then you may well pay a consultant to help you read, and prepare you. But if you take your time to do a lot of research, you see that there are a lot of things you can do by yourself. Some other people who don't have the time, especially the executives, sometimes would approach coaches or consultants, as it were. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Francisca. And we'll just go to Moody as well. Francisca has said a lot of things. I'm not even going to attempt to repeat them, and they are so useful. I hope that you were taking notes, and I hope that you would build some sort of action plan based on some of these things that you've read. But Moody, 5 audience. I don't have to repeat the list of the audience to you. We know them. So go ahead, some words for them.
All right. I'd like to first of all say congratulations to everybody that is still on the call. This is 2 hours of investment in your journey, right? And I will also appeal to them to go back. I think this video will be somewhere on the internet after we're done, to watch it again and again, because there's a lot that we have said that you need to digest. All right. So if we start with the first category, students, I like to say tech enthusiasts. Now, I'm speaking generally across any of the tech visa routes, not necessarily UK or the US. One of the things is that you have to be intentional with your growth, right? You have to invest in yourself. We said it over and over again, right? Put yourself out there, make contribution. Francisca said it all, but give yourself a self-directed roadmap to say, in the next 1 year, where do I want to be, right? To track back to say, what do I need to be doing now to be that person? All right. And that will help you intentionally grow and intentionally put yourself in a position where you'll be sought after. Like, jump into volunteer opportunity. There's a lot of open source community here and there. Jump in those opportunity. At that level, as an enthusiast, what you need to be doing is look for opportunity. Growth should be your mantra. Contribution. Don't ask for how much will you pay me. Just throw yourself in there, because when you have built yourself to a certain standard, it's easy to now start commanding how much you want to be paid, right? So because I see that a lot of people put money first, and that blocks their growth trajectory. So you want to learn as fast as you can. For junior developers, people that are already in the system, they're already building, you want to take a look at places like Last by Beacon to build more, right? To expand your skill sets, to build more products. You want to be involved in in that pattern. So your own self-directed roadmap might be different, more like how many, startup do I want to be involved in, or how many open source program do I want to contribute to? Those kind of things will help you. Now, don't do it for the sake of, I want to be able to travel out at some point. Many of us on the call, we were not doing it for that sake. We're just giving back. We're just being available. We're just learning the ropes and learning how to do something in a new way. Learning how to optimize the same system so that we can reach better audience, right? And being out there for people. And also get mentors. As a junior developer, you want to get a mentor. You want to walk in the light of somebody that's ahead of you, so that you're not just going around circles and looking for how to crack it. People have gone ahead of you. They have the information. Get mentors. All right. For senior developers, I would say to you guys, start looking out for volunteer opportunity on a global scale. Start looking at how to contribute, on international platforms. All right. Build partnership. Go on LinkedIn. LinkedIn it's an ecosystem. It's a globe. You can send email, code lead, whatever you want to call it, DM to somebody and to say, and don't say, hey, hi. That's not how to network on those platforms. Go to their platform, look at what they are working on, look at their stacks, and say, hi, I noticed that you are building this fantastic product. Is there a chance that I can volunteer for this? Right? Is there a chance for us to grab, 10 minutes to talk about your product? Learn to converse with people, right? Building that network, because I've seen a lot of, people that have used I'm a geek to cover their inefficiency. Nobody would say, okay, he's a geek, so let's give him our platform. But if you can sell yourself, even when you are not exactly a geek, they will give you an opportunity. So you have to learn how to sell yourself. And selling yourself means speaking, means saying hi to people and sharing your journey. Say, oh, my name is Moody. I'm working on XYZ and I intend to take it to the market. I just want to get your perspective on it. We come from a society where we're always scared of people stealing our ideas. And I don't know where that came from. But you have to learn how to, work outside of yourself. Your growth is personal, but the impact is global, is communal, is everybody around you. So you have to learn to be out there. You have to learn to reach out to people as a senior developer, right? And most of the time, when you're a senior developer, you have a lot of junior developers around your primary community, around your primary place of work. So you probably are not learning anything new from that pool. So that's another advantage why you want to start networking. You want to start writing columns. You want to start putting your ideas out there, generate and create public artifacts, where people can come in contact with your write-up and your communications. And it's okay, this guy is somebody that we can invite to our project, right? And that, again, is how to grow yourself and position yourself rightly for these opportunities. If you're an expert already, C-level executive, you have the world is your oysters at that point. You have the experience. You can qualify for multiple of these visas. The question I will ask is, what are you scared of? Why are you not putting yourself out there? That's the question we ask. Is it, are you looking at family? Are you looking at cost of relocation? Then the second question I will ask is, what is your vision for your life, right? Do you just want to be a guy that rose to the peak in one sector, which is fantastic, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, or do you want to be somebody that contributed on a global scale, right, to, life improvement, to general improvement in the world that they met? People that created iPhones and the device we use today could have just stick to creating iPod. For the iPhone guy, he could have just stick to creating iPod and it would have been successful. But he has changed the world multiple times, creating multiple products, and that's what I asked for C-level executive. I know you are top there, but invest in yourself and start creating in multiple spaces and start changing your world in multiple spaces. The world needs the gift that you carry. The world needs, especially Africa, Nigeria needs you to be so successful so that you can inspire the younger generation. So I would say take a leap of faith and put yourself on a global scale. And just to wrap up, These 2 hours is valuable. It costs a lot of money. If you go to conferences, you pay heavily to hear some of this information that we are giving out for free. But I have to say to you guys that knowledge is not power, but the application of knowledge is power. So if you take everything that we have said today and you don't apply it, then you've wasted 2 hours. But if you take everything we have said today and you start working on it and you're applying it, then start moving forward. So I wish everybody on the call all the best on their journey.
Wow. Thank you for that, Moody. And I think I'm just going to do housekeeping and rounding up. And to do that, I would just say, first of all, is just a reminder of your gift. So if you're on this call till this time, you have won an extra eMigr8 short coaching session at no cost to you. And how you can claim that is by simply going on the eMigr8 community. We have eMigr8 community on 6 different platforms. WhatsApp is our best and most active community at the moment, but we are also working very hard to make all the other ones, the LinkedIn, the Facebook, the Telegram, and so on, to be as highly engaging as our WhatsApp community. So go on any of those community and announce that you have won a free coaching session because you attended today's date edition of eMigr8 Open Day. And then the community manager will take note of you. And what would happen is that when you do book a session, you will be able to get access to a free session at no cost to you. Second thing I'll just mention, I saw that we left out a particular question, and I'm just going to handle it briefly, which is that somebody said there are more problems to solve in Africa than abroad. How do I not become a cog in the wheel in the West? The truth is there are global problems to solve. So yes, you're right that there are problems to solve in Africa. And if that is where you are contributing, that's fine. Don't forget that our message on this platform is be globally attractive. And so you have options. Part of your option can actually be contributing in your local ecosystem. There's no problem doing that. But do that with being globally attractive. Don't do that just being a local champion. That's something we're saying. We're also saying that you have the possibility of working remotely. We're also saying you have the possibility of moving from your local economy to a different economy and still adding value. And it is not true that there are no problems in the West. There are several issues in the West as well that you can solve. And part of the reason why they are looking for you as a talent to move to their jurisdiction is because those problems do exist, and they know that a talent such as yourself can help them solve that problem. They are not doing you a favor by making those opportunities available. Then the next question was around it's difficult to get IT jobs it's difficult to get IT jobs in the UK. Yes, it is more difficult today than it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago when there was a boom in the IT sector in terms of recruitment, but people still are landing IT jobs. People are still landing IT jobs in their home economy. We've helped at least one person from Nigeria do that recently. And people are landing IT jobs that pay for their relocation from their home economy. That is still happening. It is more difficult, but there is a method to all of this, and ensure that you are optimizing your profile. Part of that optimization is your LinkedIn, for example. How many technical recruiters contacted you last month based on your area of expertise? If you said 0, there's something wrong with your profile, even if you are not open to a new opportunity as at today. So that's probably where you want to start from. And so I know that some people will give us feedback to say we spent 2 hours and you didn't talk about my own issue and so on. This is the summary. eMigr8 platform is your solution if you're interested in this journey that we're talking about. eMigr8 platform has options for free, and eMigr8 has options for premium. On the free side, if you are doing it yourself, DIY, you're doing it yourself, the community is there to help you. The app is available today to help you. And we've also advised that volunteer, for example, are things that you should do. On the premium side, we do have packages that can also support you. One of them that we're pushing at the moment is our Settle in the UK as a tech talent. And that package would actually work with you from stage 0 to say you have no idea at all. you have no experience in the field of technology, we will handhold you through the process to a point where you would qualify for one or more visa types in the UK and you're able to relocate to the UK. But that package is also available to you if you are looking to settle in the UK, to say you're already in the UK and you're looking for a pathway to settlement over a period of time. This package would also help you because we'll handhold you and guide you through the entire process, and it comes with the eMigr8 triple guarantee. Second one we'll talk about is the US EB2 NIW. This is also a premium package available to you to say if you have a UK master's, for example, you are probably close to qualifying for the EB2, US EB2 NIW visa. Close to qualifying, we don't know. Part of what you will need to do is send us your CV. And when you send us your CV, we can do a quick look for you to see, oh, okay, we think you are close, or we think you are not that close to qualifying. And that could help in terms of your journey to say, this is one of the options you are looking at. It's a premium package. It's paid if you're looking at pursuing that route, but it's an option available to you. We have also been talking about the UK self-sponsorship route. And with the UK self-sponsorship route, what happens is you create a company that will get the UK sponsorship license, and then that company will be able to sponsor your visa. We've had a number of successes in this route as well this year, and that's also exciting. So there are several other packages. These are just 3 out of several premium packages available on the eMigr8 platform, and there are also free packages available on the platform. So what you probably want to do is then drill down to say, what is right for me? And if you are not quite sure, the eMigr8 coaches are there as well. They're there to guide you if you are clear on what pathway you're working on. They are there to guide you if you are looking to build a roadmap for yourself. And they're also there to guide you if you are absolutely unsure and you're like, oh, what option do I need? They will need to understand your profile. And then based on that, they're able to advise. This is not visa advice. This is not an immigration advice. This is us coaching you from our experience. Thank you so much for joining this edition of eMigr8 Open Day. Thank you for investing this amount of time with us. Bumi, I know, I'm not sure if you are able to say a quick final word. If not, I will close the session anyway. Oh, okay, Bumi.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go off video if you want to.
Okay, so because of the time zone difference, I'm having to do school runs. So apologies that I'm not able to fully. I'm trying to turn off the video, but somehow back. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So what everyone has said is fantastic. I believe that one of the key things everybody thinks about before choosing where they want to relocate to is what are the socioeconomic factors? And like a lot of people have said, looking at your LinkedIn, you can also do a research, even using ChatGPT, to see where it's lucrative for your career path that you're looking at. It's important that looking at your career path, you're able to determine which of the countries or which of the, where exactly works for, if I'm a tech talent, where more jobs, where are more headquarters situated. I know that quite a number of people say that there are better tax breaks in Ireland and quite a number of places. Apologies, my kids are really making a lot of noise. But basically...
That's fine, Bumi. Thank you for your sacrifice of doing this. Thank you. Please go ahead, Bumi.
No problem. So basically, to say that those are very critical factors in terms of socioeconomic benefits, jobs, where are jobs, if it's job I want to do, and if it's business I want to run, where are the better tax breaks for me, so that I am positioned where it's better for me. And then also to look at support system, like Moody said, in terms of, especially if you've got kids and you're bringing in a family, you want where you already have family, because it can be tough. Isolation, mental health is a big deal here, and you need to make sure that that is also part of the reasons why you're choosing. By the way of the package, don't forget to put all of this at the back of your mind. eMigr8 platform is there to help you, especially if you're tech talent. And if you're non-tech talent, we also help you as well. It doesn't matter what talent you are. If you're not tech or you have of experience, there would always be something for you. build, be a local champion, but be globally relevant. Thank you so much, Bade, and thank you everyone for having me. Myself, I'm in the middle of the day for us here, so I know it's like most people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bumi, and really do appreciate the sacrifice. I see that we've actually gone 1 hour over our typical timeline of 1 hour, 30 minutes for this session. And we still have a very, very strong audience on air. It's just to show how relevant this conversation has been. And hopefully this has been helpful for everyone that's been on the call so far. Please give us feedback. Right? If this has been useful for you, if this has been relevant to you, do let us know. Let us know in the community. You can give us a public feedback. There are links where you can give us public rating as regards this session you've just had. But do let us know, because part of what gives us fuel to continue doing this month in, month out, part of what gives fuel for our coaches to continue supporting on this is because they see and they also get feedback of impact that we are making and value that we are creating by doing these sessions. So do let us know, was this useful for you? You can drop in the chat right now. You can let us know in the community, but don't stay quiet if this was useful for you, because that could help us in terms of how we structure. And if you have feedback as well, for example, maybe this was too long, for example, right? That's my own feedback to myself. Right. But if you have feedback as well, please do let us know as regards this session. Thank you so much for joining us in this edition of eMigr8 Open Day. Don't forget, download the eMigr8 Tech Visa app. It's on the App Store and the Android Store. You can also find online a link to find all of these resources and information is at emigrate8visa.com/techvisa. Thank you so much, everyone. Wishing you the very best in your journey. Thank you. Thank you, Francisca. Thank you, Bumi. Thank you, Moody.
Right.
Thank you for at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank